Okay, we're going to move on to Windows, except I did make one mistake. I did not put a door into our pantry. So let's go ahead and do that now real quick here. I'm going to go back into Architecture and Door and say my project again. And what we want to do here is make sure that the door is placed in such a way as to give us the most amount of storage in there. And so what we're going to do here is go Door, and we'll go to our little interior door here. And this door doesn't have to be quite as large. Usually it's just enough to reach in and grab what you need in there. This sometimes be a little bit more of a walk-in. So I'm thinking maybe a 2668 door would be a good start. And so I'll bring that right in here. Oops, that's the pocket door again. I do that often. 2668 man door. And that's going to swing this way. And so we get that placed, and then we'll modify the location. And again, what we're looking at is getting this to be 4 inches, just so we have enough room there to make it all work and do what it's supposed to do there. And it did not like that one. Let's see if we can modify that just a little bit. Get that dimension to connect. They don't want to do that. So make that 2 feet, and that should work out. Okay, so what we'll end up doing is putting some shelves in there. Now, windows are a little different. So here's kind of the deal with windows. A window can go all the way to the floor, and when it does, we call them a sliding glass door. So technically, sliding glass doors are windows. They're not really doors. The top of your window should be the same height as your doors. So 6'8" off the floor with the trim puts them at 7 feet. Most of the time, because of the use of furniture, we want the bottom of our window to about 3 feet off the floor. That way you can put a sofa or a table up against the wall and still have access to the window. Again, all those are just general guidelines. They're not rules. You can make your windows any size you want. The only room that does have a rule is a bedroom. So any room that is, I'll take that out there, is a bedroom is required to have windows that are a minimum of 5.7 square feet of openable space. So the part of the window opens must equal 5.7 square feet. So if we look at square footage and simply length times width, 2 times 3 is 6. That's greater than 5.7. So what we're looking at is a window that is 4 feet wide and 3 foot tall, meets that requirement for bedrooms, as well as anything larger than that. So in the master suite here, again, we're going to go to the architectural tab and then to window. And there are different types of windows. Hopefully you've had a little bit of discussion about those in class by now, but typically you have several. So fixed window is a window that does not open. It's also called a picture window. Fixed glass is just that. It's just a window you can look through, doesn't open, doesn't have a screen on it, it's just glass. You have windows that are hung, meaning the sash moves up and down. So they can be single hung where the bottom sash is all that moves, or double hung where the top and bottom sash will move. You have sliders where the window slides left or right to open. Usually you probably have this in your bedroom at home. We have awning windows, which have hinges at the top and open from the bottom. Or you have hopper, which are hinged at the bottom and open at the top. And then you have casement windows, which are hinged on the sides and open like a door. Those are your most common type of windows, but there are a very large variety of other windows out there that you can choose from. So for this bedroom, I'm going to go into my windows and kind of give you an idea. So here's a double hung window. Both the top and bottom sash move. This is a fixed window. No moving parts whatsoever. We then have our shapes, single hung, here where only the bottom sash opens and closes. You have various slider windows in there. Which sliders are pretty much the most common. I am more fond of, I don't know what I'm fond of anymore. I'm kind of changing my view on them a little bit. I think for this house, I think sliders is probably what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to go with a window. And again, just like the doors, this window here is a 4040. That means it's 4 foot wide and 4 foot tall. And so that's the window I'm going to use. It's kind of the one I'm more kind of partial to, in that it just gives you a quick, easy fix. So I'm going to bring that window over to the master and then place 2 of those in here. 1, 2. And immediately I can see that I need to do some adjusting there. So we're going to look at these windows that are placed and what needs to be fixed with those. So let's zoom up on that a little closer. So if you remember, my walls have brick. I cannot attach the window to brick. So when I select the window, I need to flip it so that it's attaching itself to the wood portion of the wall. That puts the window seal out through the brick and the mechanisms on the inside. So as you look at your windows, you want to kind of think about how they're being constructed and where they're at. And I do want these to be somewhat equal in the room. So if I move, kind of look at my spacing here just a little bit. Let's go with 2 feet here to start and drop this one back to 2 feet to match. And what I'm looking at here is where the bed could be. Typically, you don't want your bed to be directly under a window, especially if you have a headboard, but maybe in between. And so that way you can get a little bit of a cross breeze there. Your bed sits in the middle. So then we have to decide what size bed. Typically, a king size bed is 7 feet. Well, I've got 6'6", so technically that would work. But what I want to do is drop each of these down to 1.5 feet. And again, so I'm keeping it centered in the space. That gives me room for the bed to sit between the windows and kind of work it through that way. At least that's the plan here. Now, this room also has some windows on this side. You can kind of place these windows pretty much where you want. You can even remove or add additional windows to it to make things work a little better. I'm just going to put one more window in here on this. It's going to go here in the middle, as opposed to what it was on the plan, which shows over here on the side. I'm just going to kind of center that in the space, and that gives me just a little more play on where I put things. Feel free to kind of work that where you choose it to go. The bathroom does not show any windows except for one right here in the toilet closet. And so I'm going to usually use probably a slide on that, but typically in a bathroom, you aren't required to have windows, but if you don't have a window, you have to have a fan. And if you have a window, you don't need the fan, but if you don't have a window, you have to have the fan. So I like both to be put in restrooms. Sometimes it's nice to have fresh air in there. Sometimes it's nice just to have the fan, depending on what the temperature is on the outside. So for this, I am probably going to go and look at my windows options here. 2 foot wide, 1/2 foot tall, and I'm just going to put that window right there. Just a little small guy. Now, he's not showing, which is problematic. So let's go find out why. So I'm going to go 3D view. Here's my front. I'm going to go to the side. And this is where my windows are. And there's that window I just put in. So here's the master suite over here, the 2 windows. And again, these are 4 foot wide, 4 foot tall. So if I'm looking at the height, that means there's 3 feet from the floor to the bottom of the window, plus the 4, that's 7 feet. That's where those windows are at. This window, get me in there, is 1'6", still 3 feet from the floor. So what I need to do is figure out how high it is to match. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can do the math. So if I take 7 and I subtract 1.5 from, I got 5.5 feet. So if I click here and change this to 5.5, that would line it up with the top of the other windows. Okay, fair enough. Well done. The other thing, I'm going to undo that. In our modify, we have our align tool. And I can go and grab the top of this window and the top of this one. I'm going to get it exactly right again. So that blue line there to the top of this window over here, and that will line them up as well. So you can use that align tool in 3D, provided you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish there. Okay, so now that I've got the window here, I want to maybe think about its size a little bit. This window is only, well, it's only 1.5 feet. I'm going to change that height. So I'm going to look at it, in the edit type, duplicate it. I'm going to go 3 feet tall with it this time. So 2030. Hit OK here. Change the height to 3. And hit apply and OK. Now that's going to change it. So now I'm going to adjust my height here. So I'm just going to drop that down to 4 feet. Okay, so now I got 4 feet up. When you're doing bathroom windows, here's the big thing you have to worry about. You want to make sure that if people are in the restroom, that people on the outside can't see anything they shouldn't see. So if the average height right now, let's say it's 5'6", and our window's at 7 feet. So 5'6" is going to be about the middle of the window here. That's where their head is going to be. And if it's female, you want to make sure that you're not going down more than that. So this might be a little too much. So I'm going to change that one more time. So I'm going to duplicate again and change it from a 2030 to 2026. And change the height here to 2.5 feet. And apply that. And then add 6 inches to the bottom, so that now it's less likely to be a view that shows more than it should. So when we're doing architecture, we got to think about people's privacy, especially in housing. People want their homes to be private. We also have to keep in mind that we are trying to design for everybody. Doesn't matter gender, doesn't matter race or culture. We have to design for everybody. That means you need to learn a lot about everything, and usually pretty quickly. All right, so let's go back to our plan now. So there's our window in our toilet room. There is another window here by the garden tub. Okay, this is a tub with a window by it. Definitely the same situation. So we're going to go back to our window, architecture window. We're going to go look at our slider options. And we're going to have to pick one that's going to be, again, not terribly crisp. So I'm going to start this 4040 again. And if I place that in the wall, and I center it in there. And we're going to go back to our 3D view to take a look at that. So I'm going to flip it to the right front view. And we're going to look at where we're at. Now, the height is great. But if you're sitting in the tub, your head is going to be right where that cursor is right now. And when you stand up, then there is no hiding. So we're going to change the height of this. Now, each time you make an adjustment, you're adding to the windows or the component in your template, which is making it more and more user-friendly and faster for you to do homes in the future. So the more you customize, the more you get your style down, the more you can do. So we're going to change this one to a 4020. So again, we select the window, edit type, duplicate before we make the change, put in the new size name so it matches what we're doing, change our height, hit apply, and that's where done. Now it dropped down, so when we now have to take and move that bottom up, so we're moving up 5 feet. Now, if we move it up 5 feet, again, think about how tall people are. The average height for a male in the United States right now is 5'10". The average height for a female in the United States is right about 5'7". So it's inching up there quite a bit. So if the bottom of our window is at 5 feet, then we're just going to see tops of heads. And that makes this, so we still get the natural light, we still get the open breeze, but we're not going to be exposed. Okay, so that kind of thing takes place. All right, now, so we got that window. Back to our plan view. And I'm going to use the same windows, just changing the sizes. It creates a harmony or a rhythm that goes with the plan, so it's all uniform and cohesive. Good words that has a balance to it. In the library has a window seat. Now, window seats are nice. People like to sit and curl up there and read a book in the sun. Let's explain what a window seat actually is. So when we put a window in, and when they go back to look at this where the seal comes all the way out, the window seal is on the outside. Now, you may have talked about the window sill on the inside of your house for your entire life, and that's pretty common and nothing wrong with that. The outside portion of the window is the seal. It seals off the exterior, air, wind, rain, that kind of thing. The inside is called the window stool. So that little bottom lip of the window, and let's do this. Let's go 3D it. I'm going to tip this thing around here. And so come down here. So this little shelf is called the window stool. When you increase that stool becomes a seat. So the window seat and window stool are really the same thing. It just depends on their size and how we're going to utilize it. So when we come back here to this library, I'm going to put in a couple of sliders. So I'm going to do a window. And I'm going to go see what I've got here real quick. I think we're going to go. So, yeah, we're going to do some adjusting on this one quite a bit. Let's start with the 4040, so 4 foot by 4 foot window. So I select that, and I'm just going to place these in just to get context and feel. So then put 2 windows in, and I'm going to put a little space between them for right now. And then I look at 3D to see if I like what I'm seeing. And it probably won't be because that's just how I know it's going. Okay, so there's my windows. Not bad. Height's good. Off the floor, sort of. So your window seat, if you're going to sit on a window, the chair from the floor to the bottom of the chair is between 18 and 22 inches, depending on how people feel about life and in general and how they work. I like to be about 22 inches. So I'm going to adjust this. So we're going to drop this down a foot. That means we're going to add a foot to the height. Okay, so let's start going and do some adjustments here. So right now it's a 4 foot width. So I'm going to change this, duplicate, and then do a 3 foot wide, 5 foot tall window. And again, I'm going to take out the 2. That just means it's a copy. Make those changes here. So it's now going to be 3 foot by 5 foot. And hit apply and hit OK. Now, I only changed the one window. Okay, now I did that because I want to see how they look. So kind of a little bit larger. My height's working out pretty good, but I'm at the top of the transom now, not the top of the door. And that's really what I want to be at. So this one is 5 and 2. So that's 7 feet. So this one here, and then drop this down to 2. That's going to lower that window. So now it matched what it is before. Good. And I kind of like that. It makes more of a seat type thing, kind of falls in with the vertical lines on the door. And now that I've got the 2 side by side, I can say, okay, I really like the one on the left, not so much the right. I'm going to change it. So I go over to my modify. Over here where it says clipboard, right above that is your match properties. I select that. Select the window I like, and then the window I want to change. And now they match, except their sill height. So now I can cancel out. And you can use the align tool again here, or just come over to your seal height and remove that foot so they line up. And now I have that happening there. So I'm starting to create this pattern with my windows and how they look in the house and how they work themselves out. Okay, so I've got these windows. I really like them. I've got a wall over here I need them in. So let's go finish positioning these now back on the floor plan and get them positioned right. And let's go 3 foot here and 3 foot there. And that overlaps. So that's too tight. I don't want that. I want a little bit of difference. And then go, let's go 2 foot 8 inches. And on this one, we'll go 2 foot 8 inches. And I'm going to leave this little gap in between. Now, that gap is 6.5 inches, so I'm not really sure I want that. What I want is about 4 inches, which is not quite going the way I want it to. That's okay, because I'm using brick. If I wasn't using brick, it wouldn't be a problem. So really, I need to get a full 8 inches in between here, and it should be allowing me to do that. So this room's a little odd size, and we're going to have to just kind of figure out how we want to work that. And I think we'll take this. I think when they just match them up together and make them, order them as one solid window. So I'm going to go architecture, model line, and then find that purple triangle. That is the middle of the wall. I want to find it on the inside of the wall. Just going to pull that through. Now, it's underneath the wall, so you won't see it, but when you float over it, you can see it. Use the align tool. Select the model line first, then the edge of the window, then the model line and the edge of the other window. So now they're conjoined or connected. And then I just have to delete the model line. Again, you don't have to. I just don't like seeing green lines everywhere. Go back to my 3D mode, and there's my window now. So you can have some fun adjusting these windows. I may come in and put a transom over the top of this just to bring more light. Libraries need lots of light. It makes it easier to read. But I'll come back and maybe do that as I figure out my ceiling heights in a little while in there. All right, over to the dining room. And I'm going to use the same window I just used, that I just created. So architecture window. And I go in and find my new improved, the 4020. Oh, that's not quite what I wanted. Let's go figure out what I did these. It's kind of bad when your memory slips on you that quick. So 3050, that's what I'm looking. So there's a 3050. I'm going to take that window, get to activate here. It's been 3050. Put one there and one there. Now, again, this one's backwards, so I need to fix that before I go on. If I don't, I tend to forget. So fix as you go. It saves you some grief. And I want these to be openable. Now, if you notice, I can flip which side opens. So if I look at this window, the part that moves is on the outside here. And this is the part over here that moves is on this side. Okay? Which is fine. Doesn't matter. But you can flip those. Nope, it's not like that. The other way. So you can change where that sliding portion is. And that's up to you. You can make that choice. And then go now to my fixed windows. And I want a 3050 fixed window. So there's one right there. And that one's going to go right in the middle. So that one's there. Now, the thing is to get these all in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my model line again. And try. So there's my midpoint of that wall. There's midpoint. So I'm going to bring that down. And then I'm going to start by taking this wall and then do a move from the midpoint there to the midpoint there. Then this shift things over. So now this one's centered. I'll use the align tool and attach these windows all together. So it's all one piece. And you can order these as one set window. And again, in my case, I'm going to take that out, go to my front view, and there's what that window is going to look like. Now, I have not changed the color of the fixed window. It's brown, stained. So I can go in here and do edit type. And I look at the finishes, and the trim's oak. And I can go in here, hit this option here. And all I have to do is say, okay, I want it white. So I'm going to start typing the word white. And white paint is one they use. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to change each of these to white paint. And we'll talk about how to create that as we get going on the house. And I got fabric, white paint. What happened to my white paint? Let's see if we can get that to clear out. Painted white. Oh, that's kind of a little frustrating. We cancel and go back in there. And we want wood painted white. There you go. A little better now. So it's thinking of changing all these colors. And one more change. Wood painted white. Apply. Okay. Okay, now they are matchy and would work well. So you can make those changes pretty quick and easy as you work through your plans. All right, that's the windows across the front of the house, and the right-hand side, we need to do the left side. So the laundry is going to get that window treatment as well. All right, so over in the laundry, again, this is going to have your washer and dryer. They sit kind of high. They're about 3 feet off the floor, probably about 42 inches total with the back where your gears and stuff are, or your dials and all that. So I'm going to put in on this the sliders again here, architecture window. Go back to our slider window. And I think we'll do I'm not quite sure what I want to do there. Let's see. Give me a little smaller. They don't have to be quite so grand. I think I'm going to do I want a 3030 is what I want. So I'm going to start with the 30 window. Put one there and one over here next to it. And we'll go back to our 3D to look and see how that's going to look. So now rotate it to the right so you can see the left side. And here's my laundry room. And right now these are 3050s. And I still want to keep that distance, so I've got to make sure that 3 plus 5, that's 8. These are too tall, so I do want to drop that down. And I'm going to go 3030, so I'm going to do edit, duplicate, change the name. That cursor in there, 30, and change the height here to 3. And I do kind of like that. Now I got to raise it up. So I took 2 feet off, got to add 2 feet back. Actually, only 1, so this will be 4 foot. Apply. And that gets it lined up again, top of the door, not the trim and all that. So I look at that and then now match it. So modify, match properties, select, and then adjust the sill height. Put a foot in there. And then we go back in the plan view to clean it all up. All right, so again here I want to use that model line again. And I'm looking for the middle of that wall. It's that diamond, or triangle, sorry, triangle. Now in this case, it's going to fight me because this wall goes from here to here. So if I come over here and grab this midpoint and bring it across, it's going to be close enough to what I need it to do, even though it's a little bit different style wall. This midpoint and this midpoint really are the same. So now I can use my align tool, model line, edge of window, model line, edge of window. And that's where those windows will be in that room. And I can just jump back real quick and say, do I like it? And I like it. I like it a lot. Feeling good about it. And we're back here. All right, let's look at our window selection here. We've got no windows here. There's a window on this side and this side. And again, this is your dining room or your family room. You may want these a little higher as well. So they could end up being the same that we just did in the utility room or the laundry room. Because in a family room, you may have built-in bookshelves. You may have high back easy chairs. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the same symbol we've got here already. And we're going to go ahead and place those since I got that window set to go. We'll save the work again. So we have it. And we go down here, 3030. Now, because this is in the bedroom, I don't have to worry about firefighters crawling through it, but we're going to start on this side and place those two windows here and get them all lined up on this. So we're going to do our architecture model line, find that midpoint area, hopefully. Right there. Well, it's a little lower than I thought it would be. Do our align tool. That's not line, that's mirror. We want here to here and here to here. So that's where those windows will sit. Now I'm going to take my model line out, and I want this same window on this other side, but backwards. So I'm going to use the mirror with a pencil. I'm going to window around the two windows I just placed. Right click and finish that selection. Find the midpoint of this wall and drag down or up. Make sure you're on that dotted green line. When you click, you've got your windows in the right spot, and it's all balanced in that room. Again, we got to worry about that fireplace setup here. There's actually a window on each side of the fireplace. It's a lot of wall space that can't be used. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of trying to put fireplaces in, just for their nature of what they are now. And there's a lot of movement right now to make fireplaces, whether they're gas or log or coal, completely illegal. So we have to make some conscientious choices here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get our bay window done, and then we'll come back and talk fireplace issue. So the bay window is this guy right here. Now, sliding windows work great, but they are limited in what you can do as far as size. They have to be they really need to be at least 1.5 feet wide to be usable. And if I measure what I've got for my space for my side, I've only got 2 feet there. So that's going to be really, really tight. So rather than try and make windows that actually move here, I'm going to use my fixed window. So I go back to our fixed, all the way up here. And we're going to go with, let's see, dining room, breakfast nook. Let's go with let's see. Yeah, let's go 3040 to start. Now that is not going to fit here. I mean, I can shove it in there and it will not fit. And that's just fine and dandy. So I'm just going to do that, just so it's in the wall. In fact, it's not going to let me do it. So I've got to adjust this window before I can place it. So I'm going to go Edit Type, and Duplicate. I like the 4 feet. I want to keep the 4 foot part of it, but the width of this fixed one is going to be 1.5 feet. So 1.5, or I guess that's going to be 18. So 12 plus 6 is 18. That's 1 foot 6 by 40. Come down here, change. Whoops. Close that out. Let's open those back up. Come on, man. Think what you're doing here. Pay attention. So this 3 now becomes 1.5. Apply that. Hit OK. And now I can place this window, and I want it right as much to the center as I can. I want those on both sides. Okay, now, again, those are fixed. They're not going to open and close. They're too small. All the gearing would be all messed up. But it's a 4 foot window, so now I'm going to go back to my windows, change to my slider. That's a 4 foot tall. And I think I'm going to go with a 4 foot, 4 foot here. Yeah, that's about the size I want. And I want that centered if I possibly can. And just make sure I've got everything going the right direction. Now, the midpoint on that, again, you can use your model line. Find that triangle where that happens. If it happens. I may have got that all right, but let's just try and see we get the dimensions to kick in. No. Okay, so that looks pretty centered. I think that's what my problem is. Yeah, I think we got it centered. So we're going to call it good. I'm going to take these dimensions that kind of just added them in there. Take these out because they're going to confuse you for right now, and we don't need them. Okay, so let's go back and look at this family room fireplace. And again, I have 2 fireplaces in here. I'm really thinking about just doing the one. And so we'll add 1 fireplace to it, and then we'll come back to that. But we have now, other than the windows on the sides, and I'm kind of inclined to not put windows here. If this is going to be the family room, there's probably a TV in here somewhere, and I don't want a lot of glare on that. So that is probably the extent of the windows on this plan. And again, you're welcome to add more if you like, but for what I'm doing, I think I'm going to leave this off, and we'll go from there. So congratulations, you placed your windows. Again, we're going to come back and talk about that fireplace. We may end up adding additional windows in that family room, but we're kind of good there. So we'll let things kind of percolate, do some design thinking, let it go through your subconscious, see what do I want to do, how do I want to make it different, what do I want to change on it. When we come back, your next video is going to be flooring. And so we're going to start putting the flooring down in the whole house. Minus the garage. We're not going to do the garage, and we're not going to do anything in the stairs, but we're going to get the flooring down for the whole thing. Okay, so see you in the next video. Hang tight.